morning, viewers across Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean. Welcome to Book Club Corner, and I am Jewel Green, your host for Book Club Corner. Every Wednesday, we chat with local authors about their books, about the literary arts, and about the publishing industry and what's happening with publishing today. And today with us, we have an amazing author let me tell you, when you see this book, you will be amazed. Her name is Natasha Coker Jones. We have Miss Jones here with us today, and she is the co-founder of Upstream magazine. She is the co-author of the book that we're talking about today, which is called Sunsets for Betty. She is a multiple published author, a published author of multiple books, and one of those books is When the Poui Blooms, as well as Fact Checker. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Jewel. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Same here.
Yes.
We're so happy to have you. When I heard about this book, Sunsets for Betty, I said, listen, there's so much to unwrap there.
Yes.
So much to unwrap. I had to, make sure that you came to talk to us about that.
Yes.
This book that you've written, when we talk to authors, we like to get the 411. We want to know all the business. Right? And you have done so much. You're into communication, you're an educator, you teach, you train, you write. I would ask you where you find the time, but that would be the pot calling the kettle black, right? Because we know how it is out there, ladies.
You make it happen.
Many hats. You just keep pulling them out, right?
Yes.
I posted a photo of you to my WhatsApp status to say, you're going to be here today. And a good friend of mine, she messaged, oh my gosh, she was so instrumental in helping, who is my godson, my son get to the SEA finish line. So she had to tell me the whole story this morning. So congratulations to you and all your students.
Thank you very much.
And the work that you're doing to make sure that the students are ready for exams.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, apart from all that you're doing, how did Sunsets for Betty come up as a project that you will be doing?
Sunsets for Betty, first of all, it's a co-author arrangement. So I am one of the authors, and we also have Mr. Reverend Israel D. Gordon.
Yes.
And he is, I would say, we have a Sunsets for Betty today because of it's his brainchild.
Yes.
It's his brainchild. Many years ago, he came to me and he shared a short story manuscript that he had written about the Betty Stuyvesant tombstone in Plymouth. It was the first time, I have to admit, that I was hearing about the Betty Stuyvesant tombstone, although my mother is Tobagonian. So I had a chat with Mummy after. It's like, Mummy,
how did you never?
How come? Anyway, so Reverend Gordon, he came to me with the story idea that he had. I read it and I gave him some professional advice back then about it. And he went on his way, I'm assuming, to do what he needed to do with the book. So he came back in 2023 and he shared that he was ready to go to press. He had done quite a bit of work, quite a bit of production, and he was ready. And he asked me to read it. He said, because you're one of those who showed interest in early, I really want you to read it one last time. And I did. And when I read it, I pointed out some things that I felt made it not ready as yet. And so this is where the collaboration started, and we worked together. And the end result is this beautiful production called Sunsets for Betty. I see it almost like something separate and apart from us, because we always feel like we were drafted into this project. So the project was calling us to come and put me together.
Yes.
Because it's such a powerful story. It's a story that the average Tobagonian is fond of telling. They've been enthralled by the very conversation surrounding Betty Stuyvesant and the tombstone and what's written there. And I would say hats off to Reverend Gordon, who took the initiative of actually penning a manuscript, because it's one thing to have an oral tradition and to talk about it, but he actually went the distance.
Yes.
And following that, you know, we were able, when I came on board, we were able to take it to another level, and the rest, as we say, is history.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's such a beautiful thing that y'all did, an amazing project. And this is called a novella.
Correct.
And when I heard it, you know, immediately what flashed in my mind was those Spanish novellas, right?
Yes.
Right? And John Paul walks in and he said, and he gives you all the Spanish and very dramatic, right?
Very melodramatic.
I could see this. I could see it. So when I read it, I was like, yes. Tell us, when we say novella, compared to a novel, right? Because we hear that more often than we hear the word novella.
Right.
Tell us what a novella is.
Very simply, simply, it's a short novel.
Yes.
Right? So I'm taking all the math out of it.
Correct.
It's a short novel.
Yes.
So you start with short stories, and you work your way up. Then you go to novelettes, and you go to novellas, and eventually you reach novel. It all has to do with the word count of the manuscript. And so that when it passes a certain word count, it moves from one categorization to another.
Yes.
So this one is simply a novella because of the word count. Initially, of course, I mentioned it was a short story. So I didn't want to go to veer too far in terms of the work and the developmental work that we had to do. Didn't want to veer too far from the initial word count. But of course, as you started to get into the story, you realized that we needed to add some extra things, especially the research component. And so that it evolved, and so it eventually evolved into this novella. So it's just the right size for those who do not like too much reading.
Yes.
It's perfect. It's perfect for the tourist who wants to grab it and go, and doesn't add too much weight to the suitcase, or even the local tourist, the visitor to our show who's living abroad, and you want to take it and go with it. So you don't have to worry about it being too big and too bulky, and will I finish it?
Yes.
So in that regard, I think it's just the right size. Yes.
So congratulations to Reverend Israel Gordon and yourself.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you on completing this project and having it published. And as you rightfully said, you know, a novella. So just for you all to remember, guys, a novella is a baby novel, right? It's a mini novel.
Yeah, mini.
And that is just to give you the idea. Sometimes people write books, right? You out there in, you know, viewing, you may have a manuscript and you think to yourself, oh, I don't have enough pages. I don't have enough work. You may have a novelette or a novella, right? It may also be a short story. Don't think that, oh, I don't have enough to work with. You may definitely have enough to work with. And there are a lot of companies out there, NGOs, they are asking for submissions for short stories, novels, novelettes, all of these things. Keep on top of it. You can, and it must be unpublished sometimes. So I'm just putting it out there for all those writers who may have work and wondering what they can do with it. Please remember, there are submissions for prizes. You win good money, right? You get published in different magazines. You get some notoriety. You may win awards, right? Like our wonderful Garnet, who won the Bocas Children's Book Award for 2023. Congratulations.
Yes.
But just to let you know, you can take your manuscript and offer it for different things, right? So that you have a lot of what we say leg room to do a lot of things with your novel, right? So don't fuss and worry. Oh, I don't have enough. I don't have it.
Right.
You always have enough. Let me just put it out there. And again, guys, look at this book. I love a good volume, but that's if I'm home, I'm chilling, I have time. Sometimes you just want something to pick up and go, and multiple books, because I read a lot. Sometimes you want 2 and 3 books because you want variety.
Sure.
This book, You could pick up 2 and 3 other books with it too. Sunsets for Betty. It's easy to carry, right? Lightweight. And I love that the cover is almost a little between a hard cover and a soft cover. It's not too soft. It's not too hard. Literally, your book is going to be in good condition if you still stick it in your handbag. Right?
Yep.
And that's what a lot of bibliophiles are afraid of. Oh God, I go, dog, here's my book.
Yeah.
Look the corners. Look how the right.
It will hold up.
Yeah, I had a friend. She used to put her books in a pillowcase, stick it in her bag. She'd take out that and the laptop. Right. So just to let you know, lightweight, easy to carry. I had a question for you.
Sure.
So Reverend Gordon has, he has this bright idea. I'm going to write about the mystery tombstone. And I forgot to tell you also, all those watching who are not familiar, let me just explain what we're talking about. There is a tombstone in Plymouth, Tobago. And it is the tombstone of somebody called Betty Stuyvesant. And it's the mystery tombstone because of what's written on it.
Yes.
Right? It's literally like a riddle. So people go there trying to figure out, how is she a mother and didn't know it?
Right.
Right? And reading it out, so anybody out there, if you have the answer or you think you can figure it out, go look at that mystery tombstone and you can write your own book about what you think that mystery tombstone is about. But it's in Plymouth, Tobago. It's well preserved. It has a little thing around it and you can go look at it and read. It's a nice tourist attraction for Plymouth. But it is something of a mystery in Tobago. And you all decided to write this story.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the research that went into producing this work, going back to the 18th century.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
To me, that was the fun part, because it was an eye-opener for me. I've always had that casual interest in history, but this demanded a deep dive because we didn't want to make it too general to just be about the 18th century or just slavery in general. Yes, of course, those things would inform what we're talking about, but it also had to be specifically about Tobago.
Exactly.
So we had to find material that was specific to the experience of the enslaved Africans on the island at the time. And this is where we knocked on the doors of the Alma Jordan Library at UWI St. Augustine. The doors flung open for us and we were able to go, and they were very helpful, very instrumental in pointing us to the resources that we needed. And of course, we had other resources that we pulled from. There were online resources. And you would be surprised. Well, you would not be surprised being indie, but many people would be surprised to know how much detail goes into writing fiction, because you need to be credible and you need to satisfy the audience need for significant detail.
Yes.
So that, and this is a historical fiction. So you can say the stakes were higher. And I think we felt at the end of the day, the validation that we'd done a good job, we'd done a decent job, and we needed to do a decent job for the people of Tobago. We felt that when we were able to ask some very respected names in society to review the book, and they consented to review, and the reviews that we got were basically communicated that we had done our homework and we'd done it well. So that was something that was important.
Yes.
And I'm happy that we got that feedback.
Hats off to y'all. We're going on a quick break, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back to talk about mystery, romance. Let me tell you, maybe murder. It's the plantation life. How do we know? 18th century Tobago. Stay with us. We'll be back in a few minutes. And we're back with Mrs. Coker Jones, the co-author, one of the co-authors of Sunsets for Betty. But before we get into the book, you know how we do on Book Club Corner. We sit and we chat, and this is what I call Reset Month. right? This is January, the first month in 2024, where you're, organizing your stuff, getting yourself together, putting yourself up for success, setting your life up for good stuff and progress. So we are going to be sipping and chatting, not on our usual local wine, but we are going to be doing coconut water. This is a time when people do fasting, they take cleanses, and for all those y'all who are looking to set up your body for a good year, this coconut water will put you in the right space. This coconut water was so good it was so good last week. This week it's even better, and I'm only going to call the proprietor's name when he sponsors me for next week and week after. I have to have a chat with him because this coconut water is so good.
Yes, it's delicious. Oh my God. It is delicious.
I forget about you a long time.
It may not be young coconut, Young coconut is a little more tart.
He mixed it.
Sweet.
He mixed it.
Oh,
yes,
well,
that's why you're getting like the freshness of the young coconut.
Yeah.
But you're getting the sweetness of the older coconut.
You're getting the little sweetness.
Right?
Yes.
But not so much sweet that, when it starts to give you that. How old is this coconut?
No.
Ready not after, thinking about coconut cream and coconut milk.
Right. Very refreshing.
Coconut water is one of our national drinks in Trinidad and Tobago, right? We live on it. Coconut water, coconut jelly, coconut cream, coconut milk, it's a whole thing. Coconut oil, we know how it is. So for all those who are looking to, refresh your month, we'll be sipping on anything natural. So when you sit and sip with us, get your coconut water, your juices, your natural drinks, and just enjoy the book with us. We're getting back to your book because when I saw this cover, I say, Massa and Slave Boy. Back and now on the plantation.
Back and now on the plantation.
And he is looking the epitome of what, that strong silent type. And she is looking the epitome of beauty and grace.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
I think we chose a
I tell you,
attractive model. She's
when you see this, you want to read it. There was a Jamaican soap opera that used to be on a plantation. I can't remember what it is, but when I saw it and this house and this set, why did you all decide to name this book Sunsets for Betty?
Okay. So Sunsets, it's one of the things. When you read the book, you'd realize it's one of Betty's favorite things to do. The character, Betty, in the book. So it's one of the things that she's drawn to. Our beautiful sunsets that we have on the island of Tobago. And so it's coming from that. There's also a little double meaning because, as you know, when we talk about birth and death and people, you talk about sunrise and sunsets. And we know that her life, she lived to 23. So she died what we would call relatively young. Yes. So it was the sunset of her life. But in terms of sunsets, that theme, that's one of the things as a minor theme that comes out, and her attraction, which she was drawn.
That. The duality, or what we would call the multiplicity of themes that you can draw from this book title.
Yeah.
Right? The beauty.
Yeah.
The going down, right? From having, a young life, dying, right? And you're still looking at, that flame, that fire. Because I'm sure Betty was a person who had a flame in her. You probably had to be close to her to find out what that was.
Yes.
This doesn't look like somebody who will release their secrets just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Yeah? You're going to do a reading for us today, right?
Yes. Yes.
Listen, bibliophiles out there, we got your number. We got your number. We know how it is. And we love when the authors read us. Yes, please. Let me get my glass. Get comfy, guys. Get comfy. What
First of all,
page will be
let
reading
me
from?
mention my reviewers very quickly, because
We will get to that. Don't worry. I want to hear them
okay,
reading.
I really want to
Don't
mention
forget.
them.
We're gonna get to that. Get comfy, guys. Get your
Okay.
snacks and your drinks. She's gonna be reading. What page we on?
Okay, so we're looking at chapter 4. We're on page 16, and the
Okay.
chapter is called "The Forbidden." Yes,
Read on.
very intriguing. True to his word, before the noisy frogs took up their night shift, Alex Stuyvesant had completed a trade for Betty's parents. James and Francis were now official part of the enslaved labor force on the Stuyvesant estate. The next day, Betty was hoping for the opportunity to thank the master in person, but head cook Gloria kept her busy with her new duties. Strangely, most of the said duties were out of the big house, picking shadow benny, thyme, celery, and rosemary. After that, the task involved several trips to the field slave shacks to obtain the produce that they grew for the meals. But she didn't really mind. It was an opportunity for her to take in the orderly makeup of the Stuyvesant estate with its multiple parallel rows of sugarcane that looked as if they went on forever. By the time she'd made her final trip for the cook, darkness was pulling its veil across the evening sky. Betty was in the midst of preparing supper when she heard a door open and shut. She held her breath. Nothing. False alarm again. It had happened to her earlier in the day. That time, she was in the kitchen when she heard the main door of the great house open and shut in the same manner that it did moments ago. Instinctively, she'd stopped sifting the kidney beans to better pick up the lilt of Mr. Stuyvesant's accented baritone. This time, she flicked her gaze behind her to the door. But apparently, she'd looked around one time too many for the day. "You stick out your neck like now, come yard fowl. You looking for somebody?" Gloria snapped. "Massa have no business with young girl like you." Her arms were folded so tight that it looked as if she was giving herself a hug. "The only body he does look at is me." The cook stepped closer until Betty could feel the air that blasted from her nostrils smack on her forehead. Eyes downcast, Betty nevertheless saw when the cook crooked her finger and rubbed it on the exposed skin of her forearm. "You see how me color like he own? Not like you." The scoff on her face was a perfect companion to the snide remark about the young woman's darker hue. Gone was the friendly cook from the day before, the one who'd actually sounded like she was happy for the extra pair of hands. What had changed, Betty wondered. Thunder rolled, as if the shift in the room's atmosphere needed sound effects. The heavens that were teasing all day finally got serious. Betty ambled over faster than necessary. Not Betty, Gloria ambled over faster than necessary to close the jalousie windows. "You think Massa want black babies?" She cackled, as if the very thought was absurd. "It's only a matter of time before he bed me and breed me. It's 2 years now he wife dead. He's still there with nobody. You think he go left me and take you?" Betty felt compelled to say something. "Ta Gloria, I'm not interested in—" "You're too lied!" Gloria barked. "Feel I and see how everything stick out pon you?" She pushed out her chest and derriere to demonstrate. "And all that fancy talk yesterday about flogging war, Mercy and Leslie. Who that? Who teach you them words yesterday? Talk like you is the Duchess' daughter. I make you out." "Ta Gloria, Girl, the next time you call me Ta Gloria, I go—" She picked up a nearby skillet. "Is everything all right in here?" Mr. Stuyvesant entered the kitchen and approached the table where his supper had been plated. I'm going to stop there.
Juicy, juicy, juicy.
Juicy, juicy, juicy.
fighting for the affections of the master of the plantation, who I would say is not looking at any of them.
Yes.
And Gloria and Betty are, well, Gloria is at it.
Yes, yes. So it speaks to what's happening and what was happening at the time. Of course, those students of history, they would know about the slave, the stratification that took place during slavery. And much of it, of course, was dependent on the hue, you know, and
that
field
we
slaves.
call now colorism. Now it has a term. We call it colorism.
So when you see it manifested in our society today, you know its genesis. You know where it's coming from. It's nothing new. And it was there. And unfortunately, we haven't rid our society of it completely.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And listen, the African slaves are not the, well, we didn't start off as slaves. So let me just put it out there. The Africans who came from Africa to Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean and became slaves, right? We're not the only one who deal with colorism, right? There is colorism in Asia as well, right? And in India. So much so that there is a very strict caste system in India for colorism. But we want you all to know, colorism is part of racism. It's prejudice, and we don't tolerate it. We don't stand for it. And everybody is worth, based on your contribution, based on the fact that you're a human being and you are worth being treated well, you are worth putting forward, you are worth having a good life. You deserve a good life. It does not have any bearing on your complexion, on your texture of hair, on where you come from. You can make it in life. You can be an author too. Just like Israel Gordon and Miss Natasha Coker Jones, you too can be an author and write your own story and have your own published book. Just remember that. I want to get into the credits for this book, the reviews for this book, right? Because when I saw, one of the things I really loved, even though this is a novella, you all took the time to lay out this book in one of the best ways I have seen a book laid out, right? Meaning that I saw the reviews, and then to the back, there is a glossary, guys. There's a glossary. Right? And there are locations mentioned. There's about the author. Listen, they did not spare one good thing in this book. They didn't spare anything at all. So if you get this book, let me tell you, you will not be disappointed at all. Tell us about the process that you all went through to get the reviews done. How did you approach people to get reviews in your book?
Well, one of the things I would say is that reviews and asking for reviews, it takes confidence, it takes courage, it takes, you have to understand the market and you understand the importance of reviews, that reviews sell books, they help to sell the books. And these are some official reviews. Of course, you can go online and add your voice so you become a reviewer of the book.
Yes.
But we had 4 significant reviews. I just want to mention them. We had John Arnold, who is a Hummingbird Medal Gold recipient and CEO of the Tobago Festivals Commission Limited. So we are so grateful that Mr. Arnold was one of our reviewers. We have Professor Bridget Brereton, Emerita Professor of History, the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. Dr. Rita Pemberton.
Yes,
Dr. Rita Pemberton. She is a retired history lecturer and head of the department at the time at UWI St. Augustine.
Yes.
And we have Lorraine Nero, who is a senior librarian, head of the West Indiana and Special Collections at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. So I know these folks are particular about their name, their brand, and what they associate with. And I would say that it augurs well for the book and what the effort and that we put into the research, that they were able to say, yes, I can endorse this product. And we are happy for all of the people and the people who've called and emailed and the feedback for folks who have endorsed the book, who've read it and said, yes, I'm so pleased.
Hi, Dr. Pemberton. She's the Vice President of the Tobago Writers Guild currently. Yes.
Yay.
And so, hi, Dr. Pemberton. I hope you're doing well out there. I hope your 2024 is going great.
Yes.
I did not know this about John Arnold, that he was a Hummingbird Medal recipient.
Yes,
you learn new things.
Yes, learn new
and
things.
I love that you all have those 4 reviews in the book, because sometimes people wait until the book is published to ask for people to review, and you got those reviews and have them in the book, right? Reviews aren't selling your book because, you know, it's a sales tactic. It is a testimony about your book, about somebody reading your book, liking your book, and having the idea, listen, this is something other people would want to read as well. We're out of time, guys, but before we close off, right, and they turn off the mics and the lights, right, and tell us, okay, goodbye, you don't have to go home, but you certainly have to leave. Before they do all of that, I just want to ask you, where can people find your book to purchase?
Okay, so in Tobago, you can get a copy of the book at Educator's Bookstore, Robinson Street. You can also get it at Nelson's Bookstore, right? So those are 2 locations in Tobago. We're looking to expand the network. If you are an online person and you're into Amazon and e-reading and all of that, you can also get the book on Amazon. It's available there. For those outside of our jurisdiction, outside of Trinidad and Tobago, you can get it print on demand at Amazon as well as an ebook.
Yes.
In Trinidad, you can get it at R.I.K bookstores. They are all R.I.K bookstores. I think there are 6 branches nationwide, and at paper-based bookstore, which is strategically and conveniently located at the home of the Bocas Lit Fest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in
so
Port of Spain. Yeah.
there are multiple opportunities. Yeah.
Well, guys, we're out of time, but we're so happy you could join us today, Miss Natasha Coker Jones, and in spirit, the co-author of the book, Israel Gordon. We're so happy that you could join us here today on Book Club Corner. Unfortunately, we're out of time today, but join us next week when we speak to, let me tell you, I have an amazing lineup for you all next week. We have with us next week a bookstore coming to talk to us about how to get your books in the bookstore, what they're looking for when you call and say, can I have my book? You know, can you place your book? And the conversation that should be had. They're going to give us the 411 for all those authors out there wondering, how do I get my books in bookstore? Why did I get refused? You can ask them anything you want next week in the comments, right? But we want to thank you for being here with us. Get the book, Sunsets for Betty. You see, it's an amazing little book you can take anywhere with you. It's a great read. Mystery, intrigue. Betty Stevens' Mystery Tombstone is the inspiration for this book. And we want to tune out as we sip. Cheers to you.
Cheers. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And see you next week, guys.